Hi, and welcome to this tutorial on how to add colour, shading and highlights using Adobe Illustrator. Now, here I have this illustration already created, and if I just go to my layers and I'll show you. So here in this layer I have the outline of the figure, and in this layer I have some clothing for it. Okay, so we are going to be adding some colour and some highlights and some shades to this illustration, and this is going to be similar to the technique we demonstrated on one of our other videos, how to add colour and shading and highlights in Photoshop, except Illustrator, being a vector graphics software, works slightly differently. So first of all, let me just open up my colour palette here. Now what you'll see here is I've created some colours already. So I've created some colours for the skin, so I've got the mid-tones for the skin, then I've got a highlight colour and a shadow colour, and I've done the same for the hair. I've got a hair colour, a highlight colour and a shadow colour for the hair. I've got a colour for her lips, so again I've gone the mid colour, highlight and the shadow, and then a colour that I'll use potentially to blush the cheeks, but I'll just show you that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sketch, so I'm on the selection tool and I'm going to take my figure, so this is the entire figure, and then I'm going to just zoom in. I'm holding the control and the space bar button to get that, and I'm going to hold shift, whoops, try that again. I'll select the head, or the face rather, and the body, and then I'm just going to go to edit and copy that, and in a new layer, which is going to be below my new layer, I'm just going to put in a layer for the skin. Now I'm just going to turn all that off for a minute so you can see. I'm going to go to edit and paste in place, and there you'll see, if I just snap between them, there is everything filled in. Now first of all, let's give these colours a fill, so I can click and drag over everything there, and I will go to my fill colour down here and go to my swatches panel and click on my fill colour, and there it is. It's done, it's filled in. Now I already have an outline in the outline layer, right? So I don't need this to have the black outline, so I'm in fact going to get rid of that. So the only thing in this layer is the fill colour, and this contains all the outline detail. Now for the purposes of this illustration, I'm just going to select her clothing for a moment, because my main focus is going to be on her, and I'm just going to fill her clothing just so I can see it above the illustration, right? And then what I shall do is I'll create a new layer again, and this time I shall select her hair, and I shall go to edit and copy that, and I will go to my new layer and I will go edit and paste in place, and there I have the hair. I'll just name that layer hair, and I shall give that a fill of the hair color, and there it is. And I'll again turn the outline off, so I'll go to the non-selection down here, and there we go. So I have all of my basic artwork coloured. I'll worry about the face momentarily, right? But for now, just need to see the skin colour that I've got going on. Okay, so now that I've got my colours in, I'm going to start adding some shadows and highlights. And what I'm going to do is, in a new layer, I'm just going to create, some highlights. So now, how am I going to do this? Well, the tool I'm going to use is not actually the paintbrush, but this one, the blob brush tool, right? Now, let me just double click on this. So here's where you can adjust your blob brush settings, and this will kind of hinge on your artwork itself. of what the size. Here, if you are using a tablet and you have a pressure sensitivity on and things like that, you know, if you're using a graphics tablet with a pen, then you can set this to pen pressure or things like that. And there's the ability to adjust these with the mouse, but it is, you know, quite difficult to do it with the stylus wheel of a mouse. But you can adjust the size of your brush. Now, I am going to just guess that, you know, 2 or 3 would probably be all right for my artwork and what I'm going to achieve here. So yeah, just testing that. That's about right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in here, and I'm going to make sure I've got the highlight color that I want selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw patches of where I think the light would hit. So I'll start actually with this shoulder here. So I'm just going to draw in a blob of light there. So that would hit her shoulder there. And what I'm not doing, right, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do this and then fill it in like that, you know, and paint it. That's just ridiculous and a complete waste of time. But I'll explain this in a moment, what I'm actually doing. So in some instances, I can just afford to put in just like a dash where light will be. In fact, I won't put that there. So a simple line like that would do. In other instances, I'm going to, you know, potentially thicken it up a bit. So in some instances, I'll be going over the lines here. In fact, I'd probably afford to go into my blob brush, and I'll just take this down to 2, I think. No, in fact, yeah, I am going to take it down to 2. That's better. It's a better size brush. So I'm going to take that there, the back of the hand there. I'm going to paint in a line for the finger there, and then I'll go over to her neck here, and I'll paint a block in for the clavicle there, and then highlight on her chest here, and there I'll have one too. I'll just go onto her face, so I'll say that, you know, this part of her forehead catches some light, and I'm not worried about being too careful with it for the moment. I'll take some light on her nose like this, a little blob there. In fact, I will catch some light on her cheek here. Do I want to catch some light on her cheek? Yes, I think I will. I'll catch a bit of light on her chin. I'm holding the space bar so I can go down my page. I'll just zoom out a bit, and I'm going to catch some light and a shape like that on her thigh there. I'll just catch a wee bit here like that, and be a bit of a highlight on her knee. My calf here will catch some light, and this side of her foot, catch some light here. I'll have some light catch on this side of her foot, and this part of her shin I'll catch some light. This calf, which is forward, I'll have a bit, and then on this kneecap here I'll have some catch a bit more inwards on this thigh. Just clean that up a bit. Down her ribcage here. In fact, I can afford to go a bit closer to this. And on this arm, whoops. Back of the thumb. I'll leave this arm for the moment, actually, thinking about it. Right, now, this looks utterly ludicrous. You know, what's with these spaces? What's with these lines? Well, here's one of the great things about the blob brush. Right, if I click on this, you actually create 2 lines. You create the outer line and the inner line. So if I go on my direct selection tool and I click on the inner line and I delete it, well, hey, solid color. So that fills in a solid color of shape. So that's why I don't have to worry, so delete, about wasting my time filling in shapes. I can also adjust my anchor points and, you know, thin off any shapes that aren't perfect, or I can take some of these out. I can, you know, go in with the eraser and, you know, erase some of this to get a cleaner line if I wish, right? So it depends on what I want to do. So that bit there, that's a kind of a nasty smudge. I could be forever, you know, whoops, adjusting this with my direct selection point, trying to get it right. So just get the eraser brush and just go in and go chop. Easy peasy, done, right? And then you get a nice, slim, cleaned off line. So with this one, white arrow, double click on the inner line. Oh, so you've got that. Delete, delete, gone. Right, this line I can, you know, adjust my shade in there, take it all the way down that finger, tweak the anchor points if I want. See, so that's one of the benefits of Illustrator over Photoshop. It gives you a bit more control. Oh, I missed a fill there. I'll have to go back to that. So now I'm just going to fast forward through this next part because I'm just removing the fills and using the eraser tools to clean off some of these edges. There we go with the highlights. Now this is not finished, you know, it's not finished by a long shot, but this is just getting things started. So what I'll do is I'll add another layer and I'll double click on this, and this is going to be my shadow. So let's pick my shadow color and pick my blob brush, and again I'll just fast forward through this section of the video where I'm just whizzing through. One thing that's important to do when you're using the blob brush is to make sure you create a complete shape, because if you don't, you won't be able to erase the center of it to fill the shape in. So that's a key thing to do. What I can say is if there were any parts of this that I felt, well, that's a bit too much, that's a bit too stylized or what have you, is if I wasn't happy with this color, I can go to Window and Transparency, and I can knock the transparency of this color down a fraction. So the highlight was a bit more subtle, not necessarily such a bright highlight. So it is there, but it's more of a subtly there. So okay, so with the hair we would do exactly the same process, and I'll just fast forward through the hair for you. So as before, I'm just marking in the highlights with the blob brush and erasing the edges and tweaking them with the direct selection tool, and then again with the shadows, same thing, same technique really applied throughout to hopefully give you a nice effect. So quite happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some details in her face, with her eyes and her lips in particular. So I'm quite happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some details in her face. So quite happy with how that looks. So I'll just go to a new layer and add face, and that's below my outline layer. Now because this is going to be a bit fiddly, I'm just going to lock all my other layers, just so the only layer I'm working on is this face layer. And then again, using my blob brush, I'm going to go right in and I'm going to just draw around the eye colour there. So that's the, obviously I'm painting in the whites of her eyes. I'll just go around the side here. Could do with cleaning that up a bit. So without using the eraser, it'd be just easier. So there we go. So that's that done. And then I'm going to use this brown to just paint in the irises. So I'll just give that a bit of a colour there. So give a nice deep brown eyes, match her hair colour. So there we go. So that's the eyes done. And with her lips, I'll do the same technique. So I'll pick a colour for her lips. Now before I do this, I'm going to go in and just change this to a 1-point brush, so I've got a finer brush, and I'll just pick my lip colour and I'll just go in with this. Now in fact what I will do is I'm going to go over these edges, which is fine because I can clean these up with the eraser. So I'll go in with my selection tool, I'll click on that and I'll delete and delete, and then with this object selected, go with my eraser, and to get a finer edge I can just go swish like that. It's probably a bit too much, so I'll do that. Try that again. Go it from this way. Here we go. There we go. Let's clean that up nice. And this side, too much. A bit of lips there. Okay, that's nice. Nice shape. Now I could do the same in another layer, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to add like highlights and shadows layer for the face. I'm just going to be a bit lazy with it, and I can go in with my blob brush again, and making sure I got my highlight on, I can just whack in some highlights there for the lips, so where the light is going to catch that there. So give it a bit of that, and of course I can trim these down with my eraser again. So take this here and I can just go swish like that, and there's this side. Click on that with my eraser, give it, whoops, actually got all of it. Don't quite know why that's doing that, so okay, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I'll just shrink it down a bit like that, and this bottom lip with my eraser brush, just with that like that, move that up a fraction. There you go. So I got a top lip, and then what I shall then do is with my shadows and my blob brush again, I shall just paint in some shadows with the lips there. Select that, and I'll erase some of that away just to give it a sharper edge to it. Again, probably took too much of that out. There we go, that's quite nice actually. And then one finishing touch that I could do, I've got it so I might as well add it, is I could add as a finale some blush to her cheeks. So what I'll just do is I'll just do this sort of shape on her cheek, and I'll take that way and erase that, and then what I'll do is I will just copy and paste it, and I'll use the reflect tool to flip it so I have this on exactly the same side, and I'll actually go to normal and I'll just turn it down the old-fashioned way. I think I may, now that I'm looking at it, I may get rid of that highlight on the cheek there, just to see. And then as a finishing touch, what I can do with this is I can actually go in and I can give this a blur effect so that it does in fact come in as more as a blush on her cheeks like that. In fact, I am going to get rid of that highlight. I don't like it now that I've done it. So there we go. That's how you can add colour, shadows and highlights to a sketch using Illustrator. Of course, if you're not happy with any of the things and the colours and the sketches, you can of course change them. That's the beauty part of Illustrator. You can also, if I just turn on this new layer, you could also add any other colours, so you could change the hair of the models or the skin tones of the models to whatever is your preference, which of course again is an easy thing to do in Illustrator. If you're unsure how to edit the colours, then feel free to watch our other YouTube video, how to find and replace artwork colours using Adobe Illustrator. I hope you found that tutorial useful. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and also please check out all the other videos we have on our YouTube channel. Thanks again.